Just saying, you mentioned old Hudson, and just saying a couple of the football ferns were horribly let down by baffling coaching culture
Yep.
shenanigans as well. Not maybe not quite as culturally drastic or culturally horrible. Um, Wait, the White Ferns weren't as culturally horrible
Yeah.
as that football fern situation, which actually bordered on a bit more toxicity.
Beyond that, like beyond the border, they had like an independent review who upheld the whole thing, saying like this is like workplace bullying. This is not a safe, like, emotional environment for anyone to be in, sort of thing. Like that that shit got exposed. Like that was beyond just a bad coach not being able to do things. But there was some of that as well, because that all started with him, Andreas Haraf. Like they lost a game to Japan at home, when there was a big spotlight on them because it was the first home game in a while. So there's a parallel there. And he set the team up super defensively, and then said afterwards, like, well, what do you expect? We don't want to lose 8-0. We'd rather lose 3-1 than 8-0. Like, we're not good enough to beat these teams. And then there was just a bunch of backlash being like, well, if you don't think the team's good enough, why are you coaching them, buddy?
Nothing is more ridiculous in sport than a horrible coach.
Yep.
So you've been sharing a bit of content around Abby Erceg and Ali Riley in the USA, two of Aotearoa's premier wahine footballers, football fern heroes. What's happening in the USA? Break it down. Abby Erceg and Ali Riley, playing in the USA, both had highlight-worthy moments. I think Ali Riley had an assist and Abby Erceg had a goal as well. So it's not just that they are back on the radar. They also had emphatic moments of just two Kiwi footballers doing big things over in the USA.
Yeah, and both captaining their teams too. The last two most recent football ferns captains as well, both captaining at club level. This is the NWSL Challenge Cup, so it's not the start of the league season. It's like the preseason cup top competition, but it is like official games with a trophy on the line at the end of it. The technical start of the new season, and yeah, it's an interesting one from like two of the most experienced Kiwi footballers of all. Sort of different ways in which they got to the line. Like a couple interesting backstories here. So Ali Riley's on a new team, Angel City FC, an expansion team who I thought they were a decent chance when she went unprotected in the when she was still with the Orlando Pride at the end of last season at the expansion draft. I thought they were a pretty good chance to pick her up there, and they didn't, even though there were like empty picks where both teams just passed. I thought maybe there was a hint there of like, Ellie Riley, born and raised in California, gone back to California, playing in LA. I thought there was just a little bit of synchronicity there, and I was a little bit surprised they wouldn't want someone who's like a proven veteran leader and in a position where it's sometimes hard to fill as a fullback who can play on both sides, and just obviously like a perfect player to have in your team culturally as well. I was surprised that they didn't scoop her up then when they had the opportunity. However, they traded for her like a month or so down the line anyway. So they ended up having to give up some like trade allocation money in order to get her. So they could have got her for free. In the end, they had to pay. They had to pay up in a trade, but still ended up in the same place. So yeah, back to the state of her birth and playing for LA, who playing in LA for Angel City, they're called, who's like a bit of a, they've got like their ownership is a bunch of like celebrity consortiums mixed with like, what do you call them? Like venture capitalist types and stuff. So it's all very like, to be honest, like slightly cringy on the ownership level, but an exciting new team to be adding into the league. And despite being a relatively late addition, like she wasn't one of the superstars that they signed straight up. Like I think Kristen Press plays for them, for example. But come the first game of the season, Ellie Riley's named captain. And not only that, but she sets up their first ever goal. I think they drew 1-1 in the end. So like beautiful tales there of Ellie Riley just being Ellie Riley and immediately like making an impression on a new team. I've just starting the season off fantastically. I'm trying to remember, because this, as I say, this isn't the NWSL itself, this is the Challenge Cup. I think she only had one assist all season for Orlando Pride last year, who weren't really a team that attacked with their fullbacks going that high. They're a little more like, defensive-minded, flat back four, hit you on the counter attack kind of thing. So she didn't really get she's had some great games for them, but more defensively than attacking. Didn't really get the same opportunity to go forward. And here, like first game for the new team, sets up a goal with a beautiful cross into the area. There you go. Compare that sort of like change and refresh, like, expansion team mentality and all that to North Carolina Courage, who have been like, the benchmark team for the last half decade. However, the last year or two have been shocking for them, like underperformed on the field, but that is as a direct result of just like dramas off the field. They had that massive coaching scandal, rocked the club, obviously. And they've just hit a weird reset where they've traded away a lot of their best players, particularly the American ones, without really getting anything back in return. And as a result, I say nothing back without getting equal stuff back in return, because basically what they wanted is just hoarding draft picks. So they're obviously trying to get the team a lot younger, but at the expense of like their proven performers. It was weird. Like it was sort of like saying, we want to hit the rebuild button now when perhaps we don't even have to, but maybe these players were edging for a trade. Who knows? Like, I don't know. But one player who hasn't left is Abby Erceg, and therefore they're not looking for a new captain the way that Angel City were. They've got a captain who stayed loyal throughout and said all along, like, she wasn't leaving. She's set up there in North Carolina. This is where she wants to be, where she wants to keep playing. And as one of the few, not the only, like, there's a few other of their like superstar level players who have stuck around, like Debinha, the Brazilian forward, who's had a fantastic game in this season opener as well. But Abby Erceg as the captain, sticking around, leader on and off the field, and didn't score the first goal, but she scored the second goal soon after halftime on the way to a clean sheet victory, 2-0 over Gotham City. Katie Bowen has also been traded to North Carolina. She didn't play this game. She was an unused substitute, which was a little bit of a bummer, but they sort of like, with the win looking solid, they sort of decided to chuck a couple of their like draft picks out there for debuts instead of Katie Bowen. So her time will come, I'm sure. But a commanding performance from Abby Erceg, like really excellent, picking up where she left off. And one of the better North Carolina performances probably for a year or two. Erceg said something similar after the game doing her media stuff. So we got a situation where there's one Football Fern veteran who's turned up on a new team, an expansion team, starting from scratch, and is like captain, helping them, leading them to a good result first start. Then we got one with like another player in the exact same like stage of her career on the same team, who are trying to rebuild, trying to get back to where they've been in the past. And she's also captain and scoring a goal and helping them to a positive result first up. So there's kind of like two different ways in which Abby Erceg and Ellie Riley have both ended up where they are now. But very similar like starts to the Challenge Cup campaigns, which is beautiful to see. It's exactly what we want to be seeing, just maybe a little bit more Katie Bowen in game 2 as well.
Can you spit a off the top of the dome freestyle roll call of all the Kiwis scheduled to take part in the NWSL?
That was it. Ellie Riley with Angel City, Abby Erceg and Katie Bowen with North Carolina. Katie Bowen was playing last year for Kansas City Current, and they waived her at the end of the season, which was a bit of a surprise because she'd played quite well for them. But she ended up signing with North Carolina instead, joining forces with Abby Erceg. So there are worse places to be, worse wings to find yourself under. Rosie White hasn't signed anywhere since being released by OL Reign. I'm not sure what she's up to. So, very busy with some of the off-field ventures as well. So I'm not sure. Maybe just waiting around, being patient for the next European season or something. Who knows? So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I was hoping we'd have like 6 players for the because there's normally only 2 or 3 most seasons in the NWSL. They do prioritize Americans rather than foreign talent in that competition. So I was hoping though that Daisy Cleverly and Jackie Hand would be picked up in the NWSL draft out of college, both finishing their careers there. Didn't happen. Not only did they not get picked up that way, but neither of them ended up as like trialists on a team or anything like that. I would imagine that the fact they would have to count as import players, probably, and import players who haven't played professionally before, probably counted against them. So we'll see where both those two end up because they're too good to not be playing professional football. But yeah, didn't quite get to add to the stocks of NWSL players as I was hoping they would. But they'll end up somewhere. Same with Rosie White.